missing a D. Thank you very much, Cade. Okay, so what we have seen is that all these health scores are looking a lot stronger, well over the one, since the floor price of these collections has somewhat recovered. But I do think, Kate, that it's highlighted a risk, and a bit of cracks in the BendDao, thought, the way that they've structured this, that, there can be these events and these long term bear markets, perfect storm like we're seeing at the moment, with the macro really looking bad, crypto really looking bad, and by extension NFTs really looking bad for an extended period of time. That can mean that people who lent against their assets now owe more than the asset is actually worth, leading to liquidation. So I do think that even though it seems for now we have averted this issue, I do think it does have to make everyone think, and I'm sure they will. They're going to have a look at this really carefully, and they're going to end up putting things in place to hopefully make it more able to withstand these type of market events, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have many thoughts. Well, actually, no, I do have a thought on this, which is interesting with the BendDao thing. If they hadn't, culture is such a big part of Web3 that it's crazy, because I don't know if this hadn't blown up on Twitter, if this would have been saved. There's a chance this would have gone straight down, and we would have had every single terrible thing that everyone was worried about happen without Twitter making it a trending topic and people getting attention and buying and putting in bids and having options as far as what would incentivize people to bid on them. And flip it immediately for profit, like Franklin with the Bored Apes, he was talking about. He made 5 ETH just from flipping NFTs super quick, just off bidding.
Yeah. Well, look, they went down all the way to 15 Ethereum. They now, in their treasury, they now have 33,000 again.
Gee Christ.
Look, I love people who think out the box, and I love people who innovate, and these guys are doing exactly that. They really, really are. If you think of Web 2 world, this is common. You can't afford a house. You give the bond, the deed, the title deed of the house to the bank. The bank effectively owns the house until you pay them back for that loan. And if you can't pay them back, they can come and repossess your house and sell your house to cover their loan. I mean, that's your car. When you buy a car, if you do it that way, it's the same thing. You don't own your car until you pay it off. And so to see guys innovating in the NFT space is really, really encouraging. And they've done it well. I just look, it's technically beyond my expertise, but I hope that they've learned the lessons they need to and come out stronger from this, because I think that this is good for the space overall, right? Yeah. To have this type of thing in there. But I mean, look, not a easy. I wouldn't want a business like this. I mean, the stress, the risk is just massive. Really and truly.
I would never put a fucking thing like that. It's so risky. Yeah, exactly. It's just that's not worth the borrowing, because you're borrowing. So basically the way it works for people who don't know, you put your asset up, your NFT that you don't want to sell because you want the ETH that it's worth, but you don't want to actually sell it. So you put it up for auction. Essentially, you give it to BendDao. They give you your ETH that it's worth plus 40% or something. So you get a bunch of ETH in exchange, but you got to pay it off. And if you get liquidated, you get fucked, and you got to pay it back. And there's all these things. So it's super high risk, but you get a shit ton of ETH, if you have a top project. So, I mean, it depends how much risk you're able to take on.
Anthony, just let us know something. Let's just say that my APR, my health factor, when it goes below that threshold of 1, the floor on mutants needs to be 12. Let's say I'm sleeping and the floor on mutants goes to 11.8. Do I get a grace period? Does BendDao contact me in however, an email or whatever, and say to me, look, your APR has fallen below the health factor. You've got 24 hours to pay us back, or we list it? Or do they automatically list it when it drops below that 1? If you know, please let me know.
I believe it's 48 hours. I believe it's 48 hours.
Yeah. Okay, so then you're
Pretty
not
sure.
going to wake up and not have it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I
Right.
read somewhere, that you get 48 hours. But it's one of those things like, what if you don't got the money? What if you're using that money on something? Like, well, I don't have like 2 days isn't enough time, you're fucked. And that's the risk, right? That's the risk of you getting ETH. Like, there is a risk that comes with it.
Yeah, well, that's the risk of using money that you need to
Yes,
buy
leverage.
pictures of monkeys.